I'm blessed to have the opportunity to visit with you again about a documentary film that I think is very significant, and I'd encourage you to watch if at all possible. It's called Letter to the American Church. It's an adaptation of a book by Eric Metaxas, and it really goes into where the church is at this time, and very significantly calls our attention to the reality that there are a lot of serious parallels between what we're seeing in various aspects of society and in the church today, here in the United States and really around the world, that sadly harkens back to Germany in the 1930s and the movement of the Nazis. I think it's a very important documentary film. We have people like Eric Metaxas, Charlie Kirk, Dr. James Lindsay, Pastor Rob McCoy, Seth Gruber, and Pastor John Amanchukwu. You may know some of those names, especially Charlie Kirk, Eric Metaxas, and they really point out an awakening that we need. We need to be aware of this. We need to not be asleep and not recognizing these significant elements of what's going on in society. There's certainly differences from what happened in Nazi Germany, but the idea of really using faith to kind of twist things and to undermine some of the basic teachings of Christianity is a significant element of this that I think we need to pay attention to. It's an opportunity for us to really be awakened and more aware so that we can say no to some of these movements. A lot of this is using, in our modern times, in the 21st century, as we are living through these years now, using questions about sexuality in a similar way to that Nazi Germany used questions about race. Certainly race is a big issue in our time as well, but with the addition of the sexual questions that are out there and all the gender issues that we're dealing with that have really come to the surface so quickly and so dramatically just in the last 10 years at the most, even less. I think this documentary really calls us to be awakened, to be aware, to be on the alert, and to work against any agenda that undermines the basic truth that we know comes from Christ and shares with us who we are as those created in the image and likeness of God, created male and female, going back to biblical teachings that are part of the deposit of faith for the Catholic Church. And this documentary certainly addresses not just the Catholic Church, but the church in a broader sense for all people of faith that belong to the body that is believers in Jesus Christ. And certainly the Catholic Church, of course, as a Catholic bishop, and for many of us who know the Catholic faith, the church that Christ established, we have a leadership responsibility that I think this documentary really reminds us we're not living up to the way we must, the way we should, and the way that it's critical for our time and especially for our children to make sure that the future is bright for them in the light of Jesus Christ, and that we don't fall into the ideologies that in any way echo Nazi Germany. There are already elements out there that I think this documentary will help us to be more aware of. And certainly we always trust in the Lord to know that He is with us as He has promised, but he also calls us to be evangelizers, to be salt and light. And we need to be that salt and light in the world today. I think this documentary reminds us of that need and calls us to action. Not in, of course, not in any violent way, not in any way that attacks anyone, but in a way that speaks up for the beautiful truth that we know deep in our hearts, truth revealed to us by God and beautifully and completely revealed by Jesus Christ, who is truth incarnate. We've got to know that truth and to be very alert to any undermining of that truth that is happening in our society, and to push against it, to say, no, we're not going to be silent when the truth that Christ died to share with us is somehow being diminished or even attacked. So I encourage you, once again, this is available on Epoch Times Television, Epoch Times TV, streaming. It became available February 8th, and it continues to be available for this time. As we enter into the Lenten season, I think it's a great way to say, what do we do beyond prayer? And how do we act in ways that are responsible as disciples of Jesus Christ who know His light and His truth is a great blessing for all humanity, for all time? How do we really act on that and share His truth with a world desperately in need, as the world always has been? So as we enter into this Lenten season, I encourage you to watch this documentary, to share it with others, and to be encouraged in the light of Christ.